Can't stop thinking about, can't stop thinking about, can't stop thinking about. Ooh. Well, I thought the blues was mine. Well, I leave the dog behind. So the rain is going behind. Hi everyone, welcome to another rating, ranking, reviewing solo Beatles albums video. Now, this is a rebooted series because a lot of these albums I had already reviewed and ranked before. And I was hoping that one of the good things about doing this over again and revisiting some of the records would be that maybe ones that I hadn't really appreciated very much the first time around when I did the reviews would actually be improved upon the second time. And this was one of the albums I had a problem with on my last review that I did for it. And that's George Harrison's Extra Texture. I love the title of this album, by the way, Extra Texture. And as it says in the back, read all about it, which is a pun on the newspaper boy. Extra, extra, read all about it. I think that's a really cool title, and I like the color, nice orange. The texture on the album feels like kind of like a basketball or a football, kind of like rough edge, you know, to it, which is very cool. Before I get started, let me show you this very interesting design here. You might see George's face coming through. It comes through that way, or it can come through another way. Very cool pictures on the inner sleeve. That bottom gag there is pretty much, if you read it, "Oh, not him again." And you can put it through either way within the letters that are cut out. Very nice design. What's interesting about this is this would be the end of George's association with Apple Records. And maybe because of that reason, and as a little gag, he put a chewed up, almost eaten apple on there as the logo, which is pretty clever. I think it's a very cool idea, very ingenious in a way. And you may notice that I'm kind of praising a lot of the packaging, the album title, label design, cleverness. Why? Because I'm not going to have much to say about the music. And there again is George's face coming through. Very nice design. All right, well, folks, I gave this another shot, and I really still did not like this album. It's sad that on this new series, the first album that I'm going to do of George Harrison's has to be what I may very well consider to be his worst album, or at least at this point. I mean, I don't know if I'll have any change of heart for any of the other ones that I used to think a little less of, but I'm pretty sure, for me, this could be bringing up the rear. I'm sorry I have to start with that one first. I was playing it in the hopes that maybe I would gain an appreciation for it. All right. A little bit of history on this. Well, first of all, this album was released on September 22nd of 1975, and it got as high as number 16 on the UK charts, and in the US, it made number 8, which surprises me a bit, but it's a good thing. And some of the problem that people have with this album is that George is very bitter and angry on this particular record. And you might say it has to do with what he experienced from the critics and fans alike in the year before this record. You know, towards the end of '74, he had a tour that everybody called the Dark Horse Tour, and they spelled it H-O-A-R-S-E because, unfortunately, George came down with laryngitis, and his voice was hoarse for the tour. And he got terrible, terrible write-ups. He got thrashed by critics, particularly in Rolling Stone magazine. George was so annoyed and taken aback and angered at Rolling Stone that he never forgave them. Always kind of had a chip on his shoulder for Rolling Stone ever since that tour, a disastrous tour. Now, you know, he thought that people got it wrong, the tour, that they were picking on all the bad things about it, and nobody was really concentrating enough on the good things about it. He felt that people were criticizing his tour because of the Beatles' lack of celebrating the legacy, and George kind of turning his back on the Beatles, changing the lyrics from like "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" to "While My Guitar Gently Smiles," or taking the John Lennon song "In My Life" and changing the lyrics to "In My Life I Love God More." And I don't know, I've heard some snippets of the tour, and you know, on bootlegs and things, and I've seen some film clips, and it's pretty dire. I think the negative reviews were pretty much on the money from what I can tell. Not everybody can hit a home run out of the park all the time, and same thing with his albums. I mean, you're not going to expect winners all the time. Okay, so George's dismay and his annoyance comes through on this record, and we're going to get to that as we go along here. Playing on this album, we have Jim Keltner, the old reliable friend and drummer, Gary Wright on keyboards, Jesse Ed Davis on guitar, and Klaus Voormann was going to be on bass, but something happened where Klaus Voormann, a pretty nice guy, pretty much decided that he wanted to opt out of this because he said, quote, there was an abundance of cocaine being passed around at this time, and also George's attitude was not good. So it turns out that good old Klaus Voormann bowed out of this, and so George had to do the bass parts himself using either an ARP or Moog synthesizer. So that's what you have to consider too. Now, although George had laryngitis on the album before this, Dark Horse, thankfully his laryngitis is gone for this particular record. But unfortunately, in another way, it's plagued because he has a whiny voice. He doesn't have a sore throat, but he has a whiny through the whole thing. And that doesn't do him any favors. It's very whiny and, you know, unsteady, so it doesn't really help him out. Okay, now, we're going to start over here with the first song and the first single, a song called You, which a lot of people like, and I like it myself too, I suppose, but it's not among Harrison's best stuff. Let's not kid ourselves. It's probably the most up-tempo, only up-tempo song on this entire record. And it's a good start to the album. It comes in fresh. Now, it was a song that was written with Ronnie Spector in mind. And in 1970 or 71, Ronnie Spector was going to record this, but she never did. And there was a track that was laid down. And although it was never released by Ronnie Spector, for this particular album, George went back over the backing track and sang over it new 4 years later here in 75. And, you know, there were other effects and, you know, instruments and things layered on top of it. So that's basically what we're dealing with. I don't know how to say this. It's an enjoyable song. You know, George's voice goes all over the place with that whiny, all over it. However, it's not just that. The lyrics are kind of like simple. And I'm not one to just crucify a song just based on weak lyrics, as long as there's something else to go on besides the lyrics. Now, this particular one has, you know, lyrics like I love, I love you. I'm not on key with that, but, you know, I love you. And then the thing is, and you love me. There's a little bit of other dialogue in there, thrown in there, you know. When I'm holding you, what a feeling. Seems so good to be true. I'm telling you all, I must be dreaming. But it's very limited in the lyrics, but it is kind of arousing. It's an arousing opener. I got to give it that. I'm actually going to give it a 7 out of 10 on a 10-point scale because I really think it's that much energy in it. It's the most energetic and exciting track here. Now, after we get done with that track, it's all downhill from there. Okay, we got 10 tracks on this album, right? Check out the CD. 10 tracks on this album, and that's the only one with any balls to it. The rest of it, you better get ready for a nap, okay? Now, in all fairness, I said last time, and I'll say again this time, I like the first 3 songs on this album. The first 3 songs on this album, to me, I easily can play straight through. I can put the record on, put the needle on, listen to the 3 tracks, but after the 3rd, I'm done. I am never going to listen to any of these other tracks again. I've listened to them several times over my life, Life is too short to be playing songs that you don't like at all. Okay? Let's go now. Let's continue. The second track on here, one of the ones I like, is called The Answers at the End. And that's a good song. I like some of the sentiment in there, too. It's got some good lyrics in there, you know. Scan not a friend with a microscopic glass. You know his faults. Now let his foibles pass. Life is one long enigma, my friend. So read on. The answer's at the end. The words to that. I think I got that kind of right. Might have messed up a word or two here or there. And then it has a good sentiment about tolerance and being tolerant of people. It says, you know, don't be so hard on the ones that you love. It's the ones that we love that we think so little of. Very good. Kind of like in a little bit of like the feel and memory of Isn't It a Pity from All Things Must Pass, you know. I like the sentiment in there. And it's really a touching song in a way. That whole line about, you know, that I just tried to ring out about don't be so hard on the ones that you love. That's a good part of the song, good passage of the song that's repeated a couple of times. Anyway, I enjoyed the song. I give it 7 out of 10. So we're okay for the beginning, 7 and 7. Okay. Now comes the third track on the album, which I feel is the crowning achievement on this album. And in an effort to try to find something really good to say about this album, I love the next song called This Guitar, parentheses, Can't Keep From Crying. This Guitar Can't Keep From Crying is in a lot of ways considered a sequel to While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and therein lies a problem for a lot of people. Forget While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Don't think about it. Get it out of your head. Stop trying to compare the two. It's not as good as While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it doesn't have to be that good. I give that song a 10 out of 10. I love this guitar, and I'll tell you a whole bunch of things about it and why I feel that way, as I have my notes prepared here. Okay, first thing I like about it is it's kind of a criticism and a lashing out at Rolling Stone magazine and all the critics who trashed his tour in late 74 and early 75, who trashed his album Dark Horse, the one that came right before this. And some of the lyrics there I really like in it. Starts out with George singing, "Found myself out on a limb, but I'm happier than I've ever been. But this guitar can't keep from crying. The guitar still is sad." And I like another thing. Learn to get up when I fall. Can even climb Rolling Stone walls. But this guitar can't keep from crying. I like the shot that he takes at Rolling Stone, although in my estimation, Rolling Stone was right in panning him. You know, you have to take it. You have to take it, you know, once in a while. Sometimes you'll get praise, sometimes not. Okay, so that's how I feel about that. There's also another good attack line in there. As I say, while I think Rolling Stone hit it on the mark, I still like George coming back. He says, "While you attack, create offense, I'll put it down to your ignorance." So I really like it. Now, throughout the song, you got this guitar going on. It's a guitar duel, I guess you could say, in between. You got Jesse Ed Davis and George playing the lead parts in the middle of the song. Kind of going, it screeches. The guitar sounds like it's squealing, crying, screaming, yelling, protesting, pissed off, you know. And it says how the guitar, you know, can't respond or deal with hate. The guitar responds much better to love. And all of that, I really think it's a gem, an overlooked gem by George. This guitar was actually, interestingly, the last Apple record released. It was released as a single. It didn't do well. As a matter of fact, it's the only George Harrison single up to that time that missed the Billboard Top 100. Didn't score at all. And but interesting, it's the very last Apple record, this guitar. There's a 1992 version that was done as a demo for the Eurythmics guitarist Dave Stewart, and I've heard that, and it's very good. I think I like the original a little better. There's a little bit more sourness to it, and, you know, attitude to it, but I actually like them both. It's worth checking that one out. So as like I say, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Now, the rest of this album's all downhill for me, and I'm gonna go through the rest pretty quickly. We have a song here called "Ooh Baby, You Know That I Love You," or "Ooh Baby," yes, Ooh, baby, you know that I love you. I didn't know if I should leave the word that out, you know. Ooh, baby, you know that I love you. I give it a 1. I don't know what the point of it is. People say there's a bluesy feeling to this album. It's just it's a nothing song that goes nowhere. There's no melody. There's no hint of tune. Not even any interesting words. Maybe if you could hear the words, because they're muddied in the production and George is whining them and like and yodeling them through the whole thing, that I can't really tell what he's saying. I should mention again, you always forget something. And this guitar can't keep from crying. The fact that George has a whiny voice, and that kind of accentuates it. I think that kind of, because he is whining. He's whining and complaining in the song. And I think that's what's great about it. But anyway, yeah, Ooh Baby, You Know That I Love You, garbage. I'm sorry, folks. There's people who like this album. I had somebody really chew me out on this in the comments in the last one. But do it again if you want. I don't care. I don't like the album. Anyway, next song is World of Stone, which we close. Just the title makes me feel like turning to stone. Again, the words, maybe the words are poignant. Maybe if you could hear the damn words, maybe I would say that they're good, but I can't hear them. I can't make them out. I don't want to make them out. Again, no tune, boring as hell, no melody, no catchy chorus or riffs, nothing to sustain it. I give it another 1. That's 2 songs in a row with a 1. You know, people have felt, and I agree, that George rushed this album out. He said he had some half-finished compositions for this album, and then he wrote a couple of new ones, and it sounds obviously rushed. You know, no real time or effort was put into this. Flip the album over. Let's go to side 2. We start more, I guess, happily with what you might call a revisitation of the first song, You, again. It's a little 45-second snippet of instrumental called A Bit More of You. And all that really is just kind of like the backing track, if you will. A little bit of it, a little taste of it, again, revisiting the first song. Kind of to wake you up. If you fell asleep, I guess, on the first side, this will wake you up just for the beginning. Take a couple of snorts and get yourself together. And but it's still, although it's catchy, because the music of the song You is at least interesting, I'd only give it a 5. Why do I give it only a 5? Because it's only 45 seconds. I mean, there's not enough to sustain anything. So I give it a 5. Then we have a song, the second song on side 2, called Can't Stop Thinking About You. Again, not much here in words, not much to say. You know, can't stop thinking about you, him whining around. Can't even sing it straight, can't reach the notes. He's trying to reach a lot of high notes here. And it's just boring again. It's boring. There's not much to say. There's no real meaning to it. It's a nothing song. But I was gracious in giving it a 4 out of 10, because as I've been playing this over and over again in preparation to just reconsider these things, I got to admit, that stays in my head a little bit. Can't stop thinking about you. I mean, I got to say, you know, At least there's some part in there that sticks with you. Okay, now we're going to go to the third track on side 2, Tired of Midnight Blue. No tune or melody to me. Goes nowhere, just sits there, lame. I'm tired of Midnight Blue already. I give it a 1 out of 10. Nothing. There's absolutely no impression to this song for me. Then we go to Gray Cloudy Lies. Well, at least there's somewhat of a tune there. It's weird. It starts out, it goes like a little music, and then it goes womp 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 womp. It almost sounds like, you know when they do that in a sitcom or something, somebody says something like negative and you hear like womp womp. That's what it's like. Womp 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 womp. And he's saying words. I'm going to give this song a 3 out of 10. Why I didn't give it a 1 is because, although I can't understand what he's saying, at least it sounds like it's got a kind of tune to it. Bigger, gray, cloudy line. Womp, 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 womp. Anyway, at least it had some kind of a tune to it. So we'll give it a 3. Last one on here is a song called His Name is Legs, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's nothing. It doesn't. Again, I'm not going to repeat. I can't repeat the same thing I keep saying. There's nothing to this. No substance. No nothing. All it seems to be is him going. Ooh, dun, 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 ooh, dun, dun, dun. If you like the song, it just goes all the way through it. Fine. I give it a 2 out of 10. Okay, and after totaling up all the numbers of the points here for the songs, dividing them by the number of tracks on this album, I come up with a rating for this album of 4.1. My favorite to least favorite track here on the side, if you care to look at it. If you're not too upset with me, some of you, I hope you'll come back for more of these. Believe me, I love a lot of George Harrison albums. No problem. Later.